All right, so we just wrapped up our time at the 67th Annual Airstream Club International Rally in Sedalia, Missouri. Had a lot of fun. We ran around a lot, saw a lot of people, took a lot of photos, and then just kind of chilled. So we're starting to get back into the swing of things, and we've got a new modification for the trailer. So this is one that we've gone back and forth with for a long time. We've almost pulled the trigger on it twice, I think, in the past. And, you know, peer pressure at the rally from a couple of our friends and the fact that these parts were available right there for us to pick up without having to order them, just kind of sealed the deal. So we'll get into it and we'll show you how we're going to install these. So what am I talking about? It's the Airkrafters erPODs, I think. erPODs, AirPods, these guys. So they replace the stock vents and they allow for a lot more airflow. The factory Airstream vents are actually fairly restrictive. They are actually only about halfway open. If you were to look inside it, they have one right here. Even when they're fully open, there's still half the surface area that doesn't let air flow through. So, I mean, obviously closed, but open is still not that open. So, these guys, I mean, you can see they are wide open. There's nothing restricting airflow there. And from a air conditioning perspective, running wide open on that guy with the least amount of restrictions is going to make the ACs happy. You know, they like running wide open. So as far as what you get when you purchase these, you obviously get the outside or the external air vent that's going to mount up here. You also get a gasket that goes on there, and then this C bracket that's going to slip into the roof, and you'll use some screws provided to mount this together. So what else you get? You also get these number 12 by 24 stainless steel machine screws, and they give you a little wrench to use, 1/8 inch drive, which is nice, but we've got our own, so we'll just use those. So step one is going to be removing the original AC vents. When Airstream switched to the ducted AC units, initially the vents, they've got these prongs in them. They were just pressed in to the aluminum and held into place, and that's why you'll hear some people say, you know, just grab these and pull them down. Starting, I think somewhere around 2020-ish, maybe a little sooner, they actually switched to riveting these on. So if you've got a trailer like ours, you got to remove the rivets first. Don't just pull these down; it'll do bad things for your ceiling. And an easy way you can tell is as you rotate this, move the vent to the fully open position, and as you rotate it around, and we'll show you on the ceiling, this hole right here is going to expose somewhere. There it is. It's going to expose the rivet, or in this case just the hole, because I've already drilled this one out. So that's what you're going to look for. There's another one opposite it, and you're going to take those two rivets out to remove this vent. Okay. So, safety glasses, we're drilling out metal over our heads. Nobody wants metal in their eye. And then we've got shop vac to clean up metal shavings. So we're just gonna get in here, 1/8 inch drill bit, put it in there, and just let it go. Done. also a good time for us to clean up here because they've gotten a little dirty. So a little bit of pledge. Ooh. And well, yeah, we got the air's on because, well, I'm hot. But this is also the perfect time to do this because, you know, who doesn't want to work on their AC when it froze last night? It was like 28 degrees here.
Not the AC. Outside.
No, outside. But it's supposed to warm up again, so we'll be ready. Not sure if I could show this properly, but right here is the wall of our duct. So that's one thing we're going to have to consider when we deal with this C channel, or the C bracket, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, so this C bracket, I'm just test fitting it in here because depending on how the hole is cut and the duct is laid, you may end up with some interference with the rounded edges on the edge of the ductwork. With this one, I don't think it's going to matter, but if you think it's going to be tight, one easy way to do it is try to orient the open end to the wall. That'll give you your best chance of clearance. Thanks to my friend Tim Love with Cross Country RV Solutions for telling me that tip, so I didn't have to figure that one out on my own. And then this next tip is from the guys over at Cajun Mile, because they installed these not too long ago. And another good tip was pre-install these with 2 of the 4 screws loosely, and then we're gonna kind of screw it into place and feed it in that way, rather than try to get this up there and line it all up. It would be a pain. So I'll show you what we're talking about here. So this is the orientation. I want the Airkrafters to the front. That's just how we've decided to install ours, so they all match. So my bracket is going to be this way, up there. So I'm going to install 2 of the screws really loosely to just hold this bracket in place while we feed it into the roof. So just a couple of turns just to get that held in place. Do one more. Come on. There we go. All right, so now just gonna get this close to where I want it and separate this and kind of just almost like it, like a big screw. Just kind of feed it in. You should let that other side pop up into place, and then I should have enough room. I can get this where I want it. Make sure we're covering any of the holes that were previously here. And then this guy, easier. Okay. Hold that in place. We should. Sometimes you gotta do a little finagling around the hole. Back that off a little bit. There we go. Yeah, just enough to be able to get the screws started. There we go. Now, try to get our final adjustment. That looks good. And we just tighten these up. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So, yeah, we'll take some measurements when we get these things installed. See what the airflow's like. I think the bigger thing is going to be not necessarily, obviously, yes, a little bit more airflow, but also the ability to direct it down off the roof should be really helpful. So, yeah, we'll get the rest done. All right, so we've got them all installed and just definitely feels like it's moving more air. And broke out the anemometer just to get some actual readings on it. So kind of what I thought, when you're right up on the air vents, we're getting about the same amount of airflow on both vents, stock versus the AirPods. However, the big thing is these are pushing more air further, and because they're directional, we can get that air down off the ceiling. And I think that's part of the problem with the stock vents, is they just keep the air trapped right across the top, and it just doesn't mix like it's supposed to, or like you'd expect. Thank you, Rhett, for dropping your bone. But in either case, yeah, I mean, they are an easy install. A couple of them were a little trickier than others, and I think it was mainly just because of the way the holes were cut from the factory in the ceiling. You know, so I had to loosen up a little screws a couple times. You know, had to do one of them with only one screw to get it started. But otherwise, you know, it's pretty straightforward. As you're adding your additional screws, once you've got them up there, just remember, keep them loose, because you may need to move the vent around to be able to get the screw up to that seed bracket and be able to screw it in, so you might have to move some stuff around. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and they look good, they move air, so yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna like them. We may have to adjust our temperature settings because we might be a little chillier than we were before. We will see. But in either case, if you like this type of content and you want to see more of it, give us a like and subscribe, because that really helps us out, and we'll see you down the road. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Good, because I've been filming you.
You said you were going to start.
I was. You were staring at the ceiling.
I'm looking at what we're about to talk about.
All right, so it's been a week. What do you think?
We like them a lot. Yeah, so my reasons for not doing it sooner was two things. They are expensive, but I will say that the craftsmanship on them is really nice. They feel really good. They move around really easy. The gasket just makes it really nice and clean. It almost looks stock, or I was joking with Billy earlier, like it looks like OEM, which is nice, because I've seen some of the other cheaper options out there, and I feel like they're just a cheaper material and it stands out. So anyway, the other thing that at first I didn't think I'd be sold on was the aesthetics. So I did like the prior vents and how they were flush with the ceiling. And I was a little worried that just these sticking down would be a little obtrusive. And I was also thinking about Billy's height too, that, you know, I didn't want to like hit his head on this or anything. But they've been fine, right?
Yeah,
you haven't had any issue. And honestly, once we had them all installed, it's like I just don't even notice them anymore. So yeah, really happy with them. They, more importantly, work really well. They move the air around really well. You can just feel that it completely circulates everything versus just the air on the top of the rig. When we first got into our site the other day on a move day, it was like in the 80s. The rig was in the 80s as well when we got parked. And then I turned the power and the AC on. And I don't know, like I came back in like 5 minutes later and one of the ACs was already off because it had actually already cooled the air that much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to just keep in mind too, because they are directional and they do move the air so much better.
Yeah.
Don't point them at the temperature sensors.
Yeah, so like,
because that'll just
yeah,
mess
if you
with
were to have this pointed straight at it, like it would not work right for you. And the other thing too is like you can see, I mean, well, you can't totally see it, but it's like, you know, this is the one that I have pointed at me when I'm sitting at the dinette. I don't have the one over the dinette pointed directly at me because it's a lot of air. So the way that we have these set up is actually that like the one that's maybe further away from where you're typically standing is the one that's pointed at you. But you know, if you get too cold, you can move it around. If you come inside and you're really hot, you can point it straight at you, which is really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the other cooling effects. It's kind of like the whole ceiling fan thing where they say ceiling fans don't cool the room, they cool the person because you feel the air moving over you. And you definitely can get that with these if you want it. You can point them at you and you'll feel it.
Yeah, to the point where we've actually turned our AC up a little bit more, so we don't run it quite as cold because we don't need to in order to feel it.
Yeah, or some of the times when it's not so hot outside, we've been getting away better with just a single AC instead of running both. Which I know some people don't have a problem with that, but I mean, we like it cooler.
Yeah.
We bought both ACs. We use both ACs.
Yeah. And I think that it's made a big difference in the bedroom. So in the bedroom, you've only got the 2 vents, and personally, I sleep kind of hot.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And so having that ability to literally blow air in the bedroom, I think we've noticed like a huge difference
especially
there.
with me. We've got the east-south, or
East,
we've got
west.
the east-west beds. And I sleep against the front window, so I felt like I was kind of in just like a dead spot there where the air didn't really circulate and it got kind of warm.
But now it's like we can actually direct the air either directly at him if he wants it, or you can direct it so that like it bounces off walls and hits you where you want it. So yeah, overall, we've been really happy with them. They work exactly how everyone has described, and they look really nice. So yeah, really pleased with the upgrade.
Yeah, we like them. Would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Until next time.